Mr. Sanderson can fall to the ground without Ms. Paltrow landing on him and sustain the rib fractures according to Dr. Boehm's calculation method. So if done correctly, he cannot say critical that 1/2 that he did for the velocity, the wrong velocity, really threw the rest of his analysis into question.
So Dr. Scher, there's a lot more we could say about the calculations, I'm sure. Given the way he did it, if he did it correctly, you're saying that the conclusions that he came to are inconsistent with his opinion.
That's correct. Yes, okay. Exactly.
Okay, so, yeah. Okay, doctor, let's talk about skier-skier collisions. You've, as you explained earlier, done research to understand what forces are like on the ski slope. In this case, how would you
the contacts, the different versions of the events, and see what makes sense, how it would unfold? Do the physics of the contact that's being testified to make sense? Is it self-consistent?
And this may be another opportunity to draw some pictures if you need to, so feel free to if it will help you. But you were talking about the center of mass earlier. How does that concept factor into how you would evaluate the evidence in this case?
Sure, yeah, if it's okay to draw again.
You may.
Thank you.
And I can see what you're drawing through the monitor here. So.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
Great.
I think we're okay with distance, right?
Okay, yeah, great. Go ahead.
So the thing to know with Newton's laws for mass times acceleration, if you have some, and I'm going to draw two versions of a skier, and I'm not the best Pictionary player. I'm going to draw a top-down version, and I'll draw a side version. So let's start with the top-down. So if we have a skier, and here's the skier's head, and here's the skier's nose, and then we have two skis. The center of mass, as we mentioned, looking down, somewhere around here. Now, if you have a force that goes through the center of mass, so let's say the force goes through, then the person will accelerate in this direction. They'll accelerate along the line of the force. But what happens when you have a force that doesn't go through the center of mass, it'll create an acceleration going in that same direction, but it'll also, there's a distance here, it'll also be a torque, which is equal to the force times the distance, that will cause the person to rotate. And that's really important because if the force does not go through the center of mass, there's always a rotation. So if you're hit on this looking down, this would be the right side. Then if we look at a skier from the side, so if here we have our skier, and here's their pelvis and center of mass. That's our ski boot. And if the person has a force applied below their center of mass, then there's, again, some distance. That's going to create a torque and a backward rotation so that the person moves. For skiing in particular, that's different than most other events. Skis have releasable bindings. So if I'm looking at this side view, the boot is held in by a heel piece and a toe piece. And so if you have someone pitching forward, if the ski slows and the person's center of mass moves forward, it'll create a torque on the boot and it'll release the heel of the boot. And for someone of Miss Paltrow's size, that could be anywhere from, well, it's approximately 143 foot-pounds, so 143 pounds acting over a foot. Same thing is true for the top-down view. If we look at the toe piece for the binding, if there's a torque on the ski a twisting torque. The ski will also release from the boot. And for someone of Miss Paltrow's size, it's about 30, it's half that value, so roughly 17. So these are the principles that we need to understand the mechanics of an impact in a fall.
So when we apply those principles to this case, what conclusions do you draw?
Sure. The first is that Miss Paltrow's version of events is consistent with
Ramon's version.
For Mr. Ramon's version, I couldn't get it to work. It doesn't match with the laws of physics. The complete part of his testimony just doesn't fit. So Mr. Ramon's version, maybe I should sit down.
Oh, sure, yeah, go ahead.
So in Mr. Ramon's version, he says that he sees Miss Paltrow contact Mr. Sanderson squarely in the back. And he says that it's in the middle. It couldn't be any more in the middle than if he tried, or if she tried. And then also that she rode him down. I think the quote was something like, in his deposition, he says, like she couldn't have been on his back any more than if he had strapped her to his back, something like that. So as the is that Mr. Ramon says that the inside edges of those that are going into this V catch, and Mr. Sanderson stops on a dime. And if that were the case, then Okay, so I'm going to try to draw a top-down version of this. So if we have Mr. Sanderson or Miss Paltrow, how about blue? Miss Paltrow contacts him from the back. And now this is the same whether one ski is between his or both skis. If the skis are apart, it's a little bit different, so we can get to that in a minute. But if her skis are between his, let's just say, then when he falls, and here is his, so they're moving in this direction. That was probably obvious, but I wanted to make sure that was clear. So now we're still looking down. Here's one arm, here's another arm, here's one leg, the other leg. Now, remember Mr. Ramon says that his skis are in a V, spread eagle. So now, if that were to happen, then he stops very quickly, and Miss Paltrow is going to remain in contact somewhere around here, and her skis, the center of mass, continuing to move forward while the skis slow rapidly, which creates an upward force at that heel. It's going to create a heel release. But as you heard in the testimony, all the skis were on. It doesn't work. It takes actually very little force for this to release, the heel piece to release, in a scenario like this. So it doesn't match with physics, and it's the same way whether one ski or both skis are in between.
Okay, so how do you know this, especially about the bindings releasing? How are you confident?
I know how bindings work. It's just physics.
Right, and you've specifically done research on binding releasing.
Oh yes, yes.
And you said earlier that there were other scenarios, the skis maybe between Mr. Sanderson's skis, maybe they're diagonal. Did you do evaluation of all those sort of scenarios, and did any of those work?
No, I couldn't get any of them to work. So the key is either she would come out of the bindings or she would be stuck on Mr. Sanderson. She wouldn't be able to move past him. If her skis stayed on in various versions of this, I don't know how she continues to move downhill the 10 feet. Potential, yes, a lower extremity injury for sure.
If, for example, her legs get stuck in one of the scenarios you mentioned.
Right. So, for example, if her ski is rotated out to the side going in that V with one of his skis, the other, whether it's on the outside or in the inside can't wind up, well, so if her ski is on the outside, his ski is going to push her ski out. If this is her ski, as he's falling and moving into that V configuration, it's going to go from this position to here, and it's going to push her ski outward, which I would expect would create a toe release, a twisting release of the bindings, because it actually takes about 18 pounds of force, between 15 and 20, depending on how her bindings would be set. So very little force to release that toe piece. But even if it didn't release, then her ski winds up getting trapped by his, and she can't move forward. So, and in many of these scenarios, her leg would get twisted and really likely create injuries.
Okay, great. I think you can sit down again. And now what I'd like to do is ask you about whether you were involved in creating any animations that would help the jury understand your opinions in this case.
Yes.
And, Your Honor, if I may ask for permission to show the witness these animations so that I can lay some foundation, he can use them to teach the jury.
We reserve our same objections on these animations, Your Honor.
Understood.
Restarting.
It's been plugged in, but it's now.
We're going a little over an hour. Why don't we take a recess while they straighten out the technology, and then we'll be back. Everything working now?
Yeah, sorry, that we had plugged it in before, somehow it got unplugged.
You go ahead and have the jury come in. We're just waiting for the jury.
Audio's coming through.
Again, you may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. May I approach to show the witness the animation?
You may.
So this animation is number 5, correct?
It
It's
is.
called Close Up, and I'm going to play it for you. Is this one of the animations that you helped prepare?
Oh, sorry, Counselor. I just see it again.
Sure.
Which number is it?
Number 5. It's called Close Up. And it's 22 seconds. So again, Mr. Schur, Dr. Schur, you're maybe explain to the jury your involvement in creating this animation.
Sure, I worked with Brian Brill at Mountain Graphics on the impact and fall portion of this animation. It's not meant to represent exactly what happened, but generally the idea of one of the family of ways this could happen in Miss Paltrow's version. She's contacted from behind and then fall to the right.
And does the animation make certain assumptions about various facts and testimony in the record in this case?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and you can explain those to the jury as we go through it.
Sure, yeah.
And the animation will help you explain what you said earlier about biomechanics, applying biomechanics to this case.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so permission to publish this to the jury, Your Honor?
Just, we assert our ongoing objection to the animations, the cartoons. They lack foundation, distort the reality, and are incomplete.
So animation number 5 is received for demonstrative purposes only to help this witness explain his testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Use it as you need to explain. Okay.
Thank you.
Is that all right?
Can we...
Well, Your Honor, we also object to the extent that this witness hasn't testified to any of the placement of any of the other skiers or bodies in this animation.
Mr. Egan, is that relevant to this witness's testimony of the other skiers?
No, he's going to talk about the collision itself.
So you should ignore any of the other skiers that are shown in the animation.
Okay, so you can reverse it, Dr. Scher, to just before the collision, so we can focus on that and explain to show by this animation.
Maybe I can't. How do you?
You could press play again, and it will get to it.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So take us through, if you would, Dr. Scher, what this animation shows from your point of view as a biomechanics expert.
Sure. The first thing that you should be aware of is that this is Miss Paltrow's version of the events. So
Dr. Scher, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh.
Just maybe pull your mic.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
there you
that. The first thing to be aware of is this is Miss Paltrow's version of the events, so that's what we're showing here. Physics, kind of like what I drew earlier with the center of mass and the rotation, and that's the idea. That's what went into this. But again, this is not exactly what happened. This is just one of the possible ways it could have happened. So we have Miss Paltrow in black, Mr. Sanderson in the blue as they move forward in time. It's her testimony that his skis slid between hers. There we go. She felt a contact directly in the back, along her back. It sounded like her buttocks as well. He's also moving to skier's right, which is in the left in this image. That will create, remember I had the force that was offset from the center of mass. That's going to create a rightward motion for her, but also create some initial rotation. Now, in this portion, there's a number of possibilities. She could be adding weight to her right ski because of the contact from Mr. Sanderson. When you ski, if you're in, let's just take a snowplow or what my kids call pizza position. If you weight the right ski, you turn left. So if she weights the right ski here more because of the contact, she's going to turn counterclockwise. The contact from Mr. Sanderson, if it's more to the right, will turn her counterclockwise. So as they're could pitch to the side, or they could both pitch to the side, they could both lose balance. We're not sure what happens, but as they're rotating, they're continuing to fall, and Miss Paltrow's version has them spooning essentially as they're coming down together, which would make sense if their legs got caught up. If he was contacting her below her center of mass, where his right leg was contacting her right leg, her thigh in that area. Also consistent with Miss Paltrow saying that her right knee was splayed open at the end, and he's rotating counterclockwise, they fall to the side. Now, at this point here in the animation, Mr. Sanderson lands on his right side, maybe the right back. It's hard to say. If he lands on his right side, kind of like Dr. Bayham said, he needs to land on the elbow, that can happen. That can create lateral rib fractures. But that's not the only way. His arm could be out. He could land on the side and create lateral rib. He could land on his side and a little bit towards the back. And Miss Paltrow, her buttocks or her back or some portion of her mass compresses his chest front to back, and that can create his rib fractures. There's a lot of different ways this could happen. I can't tell which one of those is right, but all of those are and
It's also important to note we haven't talked about the head injury, but hitting the back of the head or the side of the head, he could have his head turned. All of those are possibilities for him to contact his head on the snow. So that's not inconsistent as well.
Would it be helpful to show it in real time? You've been doing it kind of slow motion, which I think has been also very helpful. Maybe start from this beginning and
Trajectory, speed, and direction.
Overruled, it's demonstrative of this witness's testimony only.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Dr.
This is from the beginning.
If there's anything you want to comment on as it happens, feel free.
I think that accurately reflects the version that Ms. Paltrow testified to that matches the laws of physics and biomechanics as I understand them.
And would it be helpful to show, there's one other animation that has a little zoom in from the other angle. Would that also be helpful?
I think, yeah, it can't hurt.
What's the number of this animation?
This will be number 4. It's called Zoomed Inside.
What was the last one, James?
Number 5. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Wait just a sec.
Okay, Dr. Scher, so I'm playing you number 4, the zoomed in from the side version.
Yes, this is the same animation but from a different camera view.
Got it. And will this animation also help you explain the same things you've been going over with the jury?
It's the same thing, sure. Yeah, I think it also visualizes, it illustrates my opinion.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to show this animation?
Subject to the same objections by the plaintiffs, the animation 4 zoomed inside is received for demonstrative purposes only.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So,
Dr. Scher, maybe since we've this angle.
Sure. So it's coming up. Here we go. There's contact, fall to the right, more or less.
Right.
We're not sure.
But if you go backwards a little bit into the moment of the collision, this one maybe shows. Does this one show the skis coming between the skis?
Yes, it does. And I think it's better visualized in this one.
Yeah, and again, what's the significance of that in terms of how the mechanism of the fall occurs?
Well, that's Ms. Paltrow's testimony, and it works for the physics of them falling and rotating slightly counterclockwise. Frankly, if it wasn't both skis, if it was one ski between hers, for example, if his right ski were on the outside of her right ski, it wouldn't change the general kinematics. This is generally, and I keep saying generally because we don't know the exact details of it, this would work.
So if we flipped the positions of the parties, and Ms. Sanderson was in front, Ms. Paltrow came from behind, using this as a good visual for the jury, will you explain?
Well, Mr. Ramon's account is very different because in Mr. Ramon's account, Mr. Sanderson goes spread eagle and his skis go out into that V and the inside edges catch. And that changes the kinematics, the motion. It's a very different version of what happens with the contact.
And in terms, I guess we've covered that. So maybe we'll wrap up here. Will you summarize for us what are the main points that you want to get across for the jury here?
Sure. The first is that Dr. Boehm cannot say with any accuracy that Ms. Paltrow landed on Mr. Sanderson. When you look at the equations done properly, Mr. Sanderson can land on the snow and sustain his injuries without Ms. Paltrow falling on him.
And if I may, Dr. Scher, was it your understanding that Dr. Boehm's opinion was that his account was the only possible way the injuries could occur?
Yes, Mr. Ramon's version was the only possible way. He said Ms. Paltrow's was impossible, which I believe is false. I think Ms. Paltrow's version is possible.
Right. And would you say that Ms. Paltrow's is the more likely of the two accounts?
Well, considering it's the only one that matches with the physics of what would happen in contact, yes, I think so.
Okay, and I interrupted you. You were going through your main...
Dr. Boehm cannot say that Ms. Paltrow's version is impossible. That's absolutely wrong.
It sounds like you're saying, in contrast to Dr. Boehm, that there are various ways this you've evaluated the various testimony, correct?
I have.
And you've done a careful analysis from Paltrow's version is the more likely of the two versions that you looked at, Mr. Ramones and Ms. Paltrow.
Yes, once again, it's the only version out of the two that the biomechanics of it.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell the jury that maybe I interrupted you on and you missed out on?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now, Your Honor.
Can you keep the screen there?
Sure.
You can turn it off. Well, actually, leave it on for right now.
On or off?
On.
On, okay.
Mr. Egan, Mr. Bueller. Morning, Sure, Dr. Sure. Okay. Can you back it up about to here on the scroll?
To here?
Yeah, and then go forward it out halfway between the last one. Okay, a little farther. Just before when Mr. Sanderson, who's also
Maybe it's easier if you do it.
Deb?
okay. How about can I use this?
Sure. Yeah.
That way. Is this working? Oh wait, now it is. Okay, go a little farther forward, please. Okay, and then when we get, okay. Now, this is Terry Sanderson.
That's Mr. Sanderson, that's right.
Okay. So his right, that's based on your testimony that he is looking down the hill, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
I believe his testimony is that he's looking at a woman who's a little downhill to the left. He notices her, looks at her. I don't remember what the exact words are.
Okay, go farther. Right?
I believe so.
And it's inconsistent with his testimony. He didn't see her at all
That's correct.
because, but he would see her there, wouldn't he?
I would think so.
Okay, go a little. Okay. Now, in this picture, you don't have Craig Ramon in there. Who, would this point be where I just pointed? How many yards would that be above this image right here?
I don't know without doing a measurement, but I'm concentrating on the collision between Mr. Sanderson and Ms. Paltrow.
Well, Craig Ramon testifies he was about 30 to 40 feet above. And so these objects are about bent over, maybe 5 feet high. So if we just flop over, 6 bodies, we'd get to 30 feet. That would be about right here.
I'm not sure.
Well, you're an engineer, highly trained PhD. You can't even guesstimate that that would be about 30 feet?
I can't tell.
Would up here be 30 feet? Don't you think it'd be a lot more than 30 feet?
Probably, but I don't know.
Will you help? Okay, who did the estimates or guesstimates of the distances of the bodies of the other people?
So that's going to be Mr. Boggart, who's going to be on soon, I assume.
Okay, so this animation doesn't have Craig Ramon in the scene at all?
Not at this point.
Okay. Is it because the defense doesn't want him in the scene, so to discredit his witness account?
Oh, I don't think that's the case at all. You'll have to ask Mr. Boggart.
Okay. We will. Okay, let's see. Just go another little section.
You just tell me when. I'll keep going until you
Yeah,
say
just
stop.
go slow. I just want to go slow motion. Okay. Now stop right there. Now, do you know the time, how much time from the initial, let's say, impact of their bodies to this point would be your bailiwick? What you're talking about
Do you mean in the animation or do you mean in real
right
life?
now? Yeah, from the impact to this point, approximately, so like a fourth of a second, a half a second, a tenth of a second. Do you?
Ms. Paltrow says that they're in contact for a little while, a few seconds before they fall over. So I don't know what it is in particular in this animation, if that's what you're asking.
So you don't know how far it is. You just guessed it.
Again, we don't know exact timing and distance. This represents an illustration of the version. So, yeah, it is what it is.
It's an illustration of the version, but there could be wide variability in that version, right?
There is variability, but we have constraints on it.
The constraints are, it could have happened the opposite way, right?
The opposite way. Explain.
Ms. Paltrow hit Terry Sanderson.
No, I don't think so. Not with the testimony that's given. We have two versions. We have Mr. Ramon's version, and we have Ms. Paltrow's version. This is Ms. Paltrow's version. Mr. Ramon's version is very different.
Okay. Let's talk about that. You're being paid, excuse me, you're being paid, what is it, $4.25 an hour for this?
No,
Is it more than $4.25 an hour?
it is.
$4.50 an hour?
Nope.
500?
It's 500 an hour.
500 an hour. And you billed something over $10,000 so far for your work?
That sounds about right.
More than 15,000?
No, I don't think so.
So between 10 and 15,000. Okay.
That, okay.
Now you're here to teach the jury, right? The defendant's version, correct?
Teach the jury the physics that would be helpful in understanding how to assess the accident.
So that's a no. You're not teaching the defendant's version.
I'm not teaching any version. I'm teaching the physics and mechanical engineering, biomechanical engineering that would help jury.
I know it's hard for expert witnesses to say yes or no, but are you teaching the defendant's version?
I guess I don't understand the question.
Okay. Did you review Dr. Gibby's testimony at trial?
No, but I did see some of his trial testimony.
All of it or some of it?
Some of it.
Was it more than 10 minutes?
Probably, yeah.
More than 20 minutes?
Yeah.
More than an hour?
I don't think more than an hour.
Okay. You didn't disclose anything about hearing Dr. Gibby's testimony.
But I did see it.
Okay. You've never disclosed to the plaintiff your reports or your testimony.
May we approach?
Yes.
Are you an expert on broken ribs?
I'm comfortable talking about the biomechanics related to rib fractures.
Have you done any papers or studies or research on ribs and rib fractures?
Me personally, no, but I've read the biomechanical and engineering literature relevant to them.
Okay. You haven't mentioned that. So you said that Dr. Sanderson, or I'm just going to call him Terry. Terry was 70 years old at the time of this crash?
It was 69, but effectively 70 for biomechanics purposes.
Effectively.
Good information in the biomechanical engineering literature about the amount of chest compression required to create rib fractures for 70-year-olds.
And not 69-year-olds.
Well, it's actually the full distribution, but the paper that I'm thinking of from Agnew specifically talks about 70-year-olds.
You didn't mention that paper today.
No, but would you like it?
Not right now, thanks. I've not seen it. Let's see. Well, I'm going to go right to another point. You have this theory of rotation, correct? That the version you're calling Ms. Paltrow's version is a kind of a rotation version?
There is some rotation. It may be a little. It might be more than a little. We don't know.
Okay, so we don't know how much rotation there is, correct?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to. Let me see what this thing works. It didn't work last time. Guess it's working now. May we take a picture of this?
I think you've already done it.
Okay.
Or someone on your team has.
Okay, good. May I borrow a pen?
Your Honor, we would object to him writing on the witness's board.
It's not an exhibit. It's certainly fair game.
Okay.
So,
Well, with our board.
right, and in academic
We
fields,
don't have any questions right now, so.
in academic fields, it's common that people write on each other's drawings, correct?
I don't know that I've.
Terry was hit directly in the back, and they went down, and Craig Ramon was somewhere above, 30 to 40 feet, and it happened in a fraction of a second, correct? Less than a second.
Sure.
Okay. So there was a scream. So and the scream occurred, and there was within a fraction of a second. And I don't believe Craig Ramon never testified where Ms. Paltrow's skis were. This. So the pink ones would be Ms. Paltrow's skis. Is that a version that is possible?
It is not.
It's you're saying it's not.
Mr. Ramon states.
His version didn't talk about her skis. Now, here, I'll draw what her body, the pink would be her body, still square in the back. Isn't that possible?
So, no, with Mr. Ramon's version, if I may, that is not possible. So, in this situation here, when Mr. Sanderson's skis go into a V, and I guess you're saying her skis are under his skis, which I'm not sure how that happens because the tips curve up, but we'll go with it. Somehow she winds up, and I would expect a twisting release of her left ski.
Well, that's her version. I'm talking about Mr. Ramon's version.
No, no, no. I'm talking about what you just for Mr. Ramon's version.
Mr. Ramon's version, well, isn't it possible skis could be pointing straight like this? And let me get it right here. So, yeah, so she could be going straight, and she could be turning left and up and hit square in the back, but her skis are pointed this way. Isn't that another version?
So for her skis to
Yes or no
miss.
question?
Oh, no, it's not. Do you want me to explain?
In a second. I'm asking the questions here. So, so are you saying that her body could not be turned while her skis are going in one direction, or she's turning up to the left? Is that possible?
Not for Mr. Ramon's version. Is it possible?
It's happened in a fraction of a second. I don't think Mr. Ramon testified that he has a videographic or photographic memory. Do you?
Well, he's pretty particular in his testimony about how she was on Mr. Sanderson's back.
Right, and he could.
You see the circle I have? Let's see. Well, actually, maybe I could do it I've got it wrong. Let's do it the other way. People turn all the time while they're skiing, and their skis are going one direction, but their body is pointing a different. Right here. Can you see me? You see that?
I see you turning, sure.
That's possible, right?
What you're doing in general is possible. Are you asking, does that Mr. Ramon's testimony? No, and I'm happy to explain why.
I think Mr. Ramon's testimony is, it happens in a fraction of a second. Mr. Ramon, a professional wannabe freestyle skier, likes to talk about ski angles, but the main part is the body. He saw the body, and then the bodies go down together, and she lands on top of him. You're saying that your versions, which you are not based on anything except
Your recreation of the biomechanics are superior to an eyewitness. Isn't that what you're saying?
No, we have two versions of the accident. I've assessed both using physics and biomechanics, and I'm sorry to say Mr. Ramon's version does not meet with the laws of physics. It's not consistent, internally consistent, and Ms. Paltrow's is.
Well, I don't think Mr. Ramon's version of the direction of the skis.
in his version, he never testified to the direction of Ms. Paltrow's skis in any of his testimony.
Isn't that true?
He did not testify to the direction of her skis. That's true.
Thank you. So, if Ms. Paltrow was seen down, turning up to the left, she hits Terry Sanderson square in the back. Is going, well, you know, I'm not a biomechanical engineer. I'll try to do it right here. It could be her shoulder that hits him square in the back, couldn't it? He didn't say what part of Ms. Paltrow's body hit Mr. Sanderson, did he?
He did not say. He said, well, here, I can. He said squarely in the back. She couldn't have hit him in the back any better right in the middle than if she tried, and she couldn't have been back on his back any more than if he would have strapped her on the back, like a backpack.
Okay, but that doesn't mean her body was straight.
Might not be exactly straight.
Center, because Mr. Ramon only had the view for a few seconds. And then her arms could have wrapped around Terry Sanderson, right?
I don't think there's any testimony about that. Is it possible? Maybe, but
Well,
I don't
where
think
would
there's
they have
testimony.
gone? Down to the
Often?
often? What are the other positions?
They can have her arms in more,
Okay,
have them out more,
so she could be like
have her arms
this
down
and
to her
turn
side,
like this.
and the poles heading back.
Okay.
There's all sorts of options.
So in that fraction of a second, possibly hit her, but the point, because you assume that there's only one way, that their skis were going parallel to each other. This is your only assumption, right?
Wrong.
You made assumptions that these are possible?
I looked at other angles. That's right.
thought that would be more than one assumption.
There are
That's a
some
yes or no?
assumptions. Sure, more than one assumption.
Okay. 100?
Sure.
Less than 10?
I don't know.
You don't know how many assumptions you've made, correct?
That's right. Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Owens likes to,
I don't know if I saw all of it, but certainly I saw a lot of it.
okay, you saw the same day and the same week 7 years ago. You're recreating this, what, about,
I don't recall.
you don't recall when you made your, consulted with Mr. Brill and made the animation?
This has been ongoing for a while. This case has been dragging on, so I don't know when it was.
So you've been working on this for, let's say, more than 8 months?
Sure.
You don't know?
Certainly we've been in contact with counsel for longer than 8 months.
And for the record, Your Honor, I'd like to move to strike all of his testimony because this wasn't disclosed improperly. I anticipate the ruling, but I just want to, a lot of assumptions, and the jury would like to know how reliable your opinions are. So how can that be reliable when you totally discount some major events like what the direction of Ms. Paltrow's body was compared to her skis? And there is testimony about Ms. Paltrow's body movement just prior to the crash.
What version are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Do you know about the version of Carrie Oak's position?
I have.
Okay. You realize she testified that one of the kids said, "Mommy, watch us ski," and the kids were up there on the left. Ms. Paltrow was down on the right, which would tend to show that Ms. Paltrow was looking up to her left at the point of collision.
I don't recall that.
Okay.
Any assumptions you've made based on her testimony?
Not in particular that I can think of.
Okay. Not particularly that you can think of about Carrie Oakes' testimony, okay? Are you an expert on head injuries?
I'm comfortable talking about head injuries from the biomechanics standpoint.
Have you ever studied or held yourself out as an expert on concussion?
If it's diagnosing or treating concussion, no. If it's the biomechanics related to the formation of concussion, yes, I've done helmet research and head injury research. In particular,
To this case?
I certainly looked at it, but Dr. Boehm was very particular in his testimony that it was only the rib fractures that allowed him to say that Ms. Paltrow contacted Mr. Sanderson.
Okay. Well, it's not clear you disproved Dr. Boehm when you don't even know the direction of Ms. Paltrow's skis. At the beginning, I think a big assumption to say what the body position of Ms. Paltrow was when she hit Terry Sanderson in the back.
Sustained, and I don't, was there a question?
So you've never studied rib injuries. Have you ever testified about rib injuries before?
Could you clarify what the question is?
Have you ever studied rib injuries and testified about them in the past?
That sounds like two questions.
Have you ever testified about rib injuries in the past?
I don't recall, but it's
Okay.
likely.
Most likely you have.
I think so.
How many?
They're
Have you
common.
testified more than 100 times?
In trial, probably 35 times, something in that ballpark.
In total, under oath, have you testified more than 100 times?
Including depositions, yes.
More than less than 200 times?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Let me just check. for now. Thank you, Dr. Scher.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bueller. Mr. Egan?
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Scher, we'll just be real quick here. Did anything Mr. Bueller asked you change your opinion that Ms. Paltrow's account is consistent with the laws of physics to your understanding and Mr. Ramon's is not?
That remains the same.
Thanks.
Mr. Bueller?
Just, I think you said this before, that you're an expert in the laws of physics, but you're not an expert in medical medicine or orthopedics or neurology, correct?
I am a biomechanical engineer. I am not a medical doctor. I do not diagnose and treat, but I do look at what forces.
Call your next witness.
We call Paul Bogger, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, before Mr. Bogger comes up to testify, we may want to take a 5 or 10 minute break. I want to address something with the court outside the presence of the jury.
We'll have to take one shortly anyway, so let's go ahead. Ms. Van Orman?
Your Honor, pursuant to our motion in limine, Mr. Bogger's testimony is going to be significantly limited in this case. The problem that I am foreseeing is that, I could be wrong, but it appears to me that counsel, and I have significant concerns with that for a number of reasons. Number one, Mr. Bogger's not qualified to do that. He didn't take any kind of measurements, calculate. In his report, he does not make any mention of where people were, where they were placed. This would any kind of discussion of him talking about the animation, and if he was responsible for putting the people, no diagrams in his report, no discussions of where people were or weren't. So I don't think that it would be appropriate for him to even deal with the animation, or that his testimony that he's the one that was responsible for putting, say, Apple here and Moses here and that type of thing. That would go significantly beyond anything he did in his report. So that's my concern, and I wanted to address that now rather than a sidebar.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, may I quick take a photo with this?
Sure. Mr. Egan?
Yes, Your Honor. So I think our response would be that Mr. Bogger has pored over the records in this case, and he has, in producing these animations, made certain assumptions about what testimony the jury that he's assuming facts. He's not finding these facts. He's assuming that they're true. They come from the record. He can explain that they're rough illustrations. He's not made measurements and decided that, yes, this is exactly 30 feet. He can be subject to cross-examination on any point that might be inconsistent with testimony. He can explain that he chose to assume these facts and not other facts, and that if you assumed other facts, you might get different illustration. And then he will explain that the assumption of various facts that are shown in the animations are consistent with his understanding of ski collisions and skiing generally, which he has decades of experience, not just with skiing himself, but with investigating accidents, collisions, hundreds and hundreds of them for various purposes, mostly not litigation, mostly he has ample experience to be able to discuss testimony that's not all consistent, and the jury, in our view, needs to hear from a ski expert that knows how to do that. I have found that this must be the case. He'll say, I've assumed these facts. He can be very clear about what he's assumed, and then use that animation to explain to the jury how to think through the case, given his ample experience with evaluating ski collisions.
That would have helped the jury. I mean, everything that I'm hearing has him weighing evidence, has him making decisions about what may have happened on that day, and that's invading the providence of the jury. It's not really going to help them.
Your Honor, I see it as like a malpractice case, which I'm more familiar with. If a certain set of facts might be in the record about what happened in a surgery, for example, then a surgeon, expert surgeon who has lots of experience reviewing records, but also doing the surgery himself, knowing what the training is, looks at the records, looks at the various claims, and you, as you said in your order ruling, I believe yesterday, can say, if we assume these facts, given my expertise, I can say this makes sense, or this is consistent with my understanding of surgery. And so he's seen in the record, if you assume certain facts to evaluate a certain collision such that your principles, rather than just generally going with a certain gestalt feeling about what someone said. He has decades and decades of experience doing, and he won't say, he'll say to the jury, you're the ones that have to decide what happened. This is a very difficult case to decide.
Isn't your medical malpractice expert example, isn't that an expert that's coming in to standard of care was breached?
Yeah, well, so yes, usually we would offer an expert in that expertise that would help the jury without rendering that final opinion, telling them, as an expert, you should do this, and I'm really the one that knows because I have tons of experience. Instead, he can say, here's how I evaluate these accidents, and let me show you how to do it. And then they have rational principles that come from his field of skiing and ski accident evaluation that help them, that they have not heard. They haven't heard from any ski expert that has provided to them that kind of a rational layout for analyzing the various complex claims in this case. And I think that would help them.
Sure. And I think in my, I guess, preliminary